Hi, Laura. This is Michelle Pierce, and this week I did some observations of one of my own students when I was not the instructor and um, looking at sensory differences and sensory needs. It would have been, a 3 hour video if I had looked at my whole class. So I chose one of my students that I know has some specific sensory seeking behaviors. And as you're familiar, a lot of times once you're in this environment, you forget to even notice that they're doing some of the things they're doing, particularly when you've gotten to a place where they're doing them at relatively appropriate times. So this kiddo is a fourth grader boy. We'll call him Ron. It's a pseudonym. But uh, I observed him at two different settings across a couple of days. One time was during circle time, and the other time was during recess. Both of these times, I was not the lead teacher, so I was able to really step back and take some notes. During circle time, we have a pretty traditional elementary circle time schedule, but we're doing a lot of music. We start with a song from the website Go Noodle, and this kiddo always chooses our first song. Our first song is a greeting song called the Hello Song. It's way more fun than like babyish hello songs, though, because I don't really like those. But that's neither here nor there. But using music allows him to kind of focus some of those sensory seeking behaviors. During songs, you'll see a lot of jumping, kind of, where you're like, oh, he's dancing. Well, he is, but he's jumping with his feet really hard on the floor. He does a lot of full body rocking. So even standing, you'll see, that full body kind of movement. And then his signature clapping is like the loudest clapping I've ever heard in my life. So he chose our song. He proceeded to do those sensory seeking behaviors of jumping and clapping and laughing and kind of rocking his body during that song, and then sat back down and participated in circle time. And then he did ask to go to the restroom. And, since I was not the one teaching, I did follow him to the restroom because our restroom's not in our classroom, it's down the hall. And he goes into the bathroom, and it's an elementary school bathroom, so it's cinder block walls and tile floors, and so there is a great echo in there. He proceeded to just clap for part of that, and then you could hear him giggling and running back and forth. I try to give him the space he needs in the restroom, as long as he keeps that to, kind of 30 seconds to a minute. He went to he used the urinal and then washed his hands as well during that time, and then came out and walked back to class. Also, when he walks, he kind of always does a like walk, jump, walk, or not, I guess not always, but oftentimes it's like a walking, jumping, dancing walk. So just kind of some noteworthy things about recess. When we go down the stairs, he will reach out for an adult to hold his arm or his hand, or it is clearly like a visual depth perception challenge there. He also has trouble in the hallways when the tile changes color. So again, it seems to be kind of a depth perception, visual perception issue. But with that support, he did great. He will, he's really working on requesting some of that sensory input. So he will come up and actually say, "Chin, please." And when he does that, he wants to rub his chin as hard as possible, oftentimes on your arm, which is not always super pleasant, or on your hand, or typically arm or hand. He will come up and do it on your shoulder, which can be kind of startling. So we're really working on that, just at least from a starting point to be a request with trusted adults to meet that need. He will also ask for high fives, and he'll ask for squeezes. And he uses squeezes different than hug because it is sensory seeking. And he'll ask for a squeeze, and it could either be his hands. He'll come up and ask with his hands for a squeeze, please. And he wants you to squeeze pretty hard. Or once at recess, he put the teaching assistant's arm around him. He manipulated her arm and then said, "Squeeze, please," for kind of that across his shoulder squeeze. In the classroom, we also saw him use the exercise ball and bounced on that a few times just during a transition. This guy likes to eat all day long, so got a sensory need there of just kind of that oral need of eating. There's in my I can't imagine that he's actually hungry every time that he eats. Um, and he eats like one discrete snack and then is finished. So it seems to be more sensory seeking than hunger. Um, and he'll kind of come up and squeeze your arms, that kind of thing. So I think really, my notes have a few more details, but I think the things that were noteworthy that um, is that because this is a student I've had for some time, I know his history has been one of pretty significant physical aggression toward adults, where he will close fist hit like this. He will scratch or pinch, and really meeting some of these sensory needs in appropriate ways by providing those opportunities to jump when we do music, by teaching him to request squeezes. He'll request high fives, and again, he wants that high five to be pretty hard. We have seen a very significant decrease in physical aggression. So he does really well with those things, and so it's a clear indication that meeting those sensory needs has decreased problem behavior for this student. So that's what I've got for our sensory time this week, and I'm going to continue to work on incorporating some other sensory strategies with some of my other students, and this has been a really useful observation. Thanks.